Hello, my dear friends. Hello, my dear listeners. How are you all? I hope you are doing best to serve your duties with utmost honesty and love. So, after almost 2 weeks, we are here to read the next part from the life of our master Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa. And in the last episode, we came to know that even Hriday, he attained a great niche in his devotion, or I must say sadhana. But it was like we can reflect ourselves through his realization that we should wait, because everything is there for us, but we have to wait so that we become worthy of that gift which is there for us. So what happened after Sri Ramakrishna even forbade it Hriday, for, or we may restate it in this fashion that uh, Sri Ramakrishna asked him to keep quiet. So you will see many more when the time comes, and prescribed him just to serve him, and he will attain all the supreme posts in the sadhana or bhakti. So what happened next? Let's proceed. Hriday became quiet for the time being, but his feelings were hurt. He resolved by intensified effort to see similar visions again. He spent many hours in prayer and meditation. One night, he decided to pray to the Mother in the place where Sri Ramakrishna formerly meditated. At dead of night, he left his bed, went to the Panchavati, and sat to meditate on Sri Ramakrishna's seat. Shortly after, the master felt drawn to go there too. When he arrived, he heard Hriday crying piteously, "Save me, uncle, I am going to be burned." Sri Ramakrishna hastened to the spot and asked him what the trouble was. "No sooner did I sit here to meditate," replied Hriday, writhing in agony, "than I felt as if someone had emptied a tray of live charcoal over me. Oh, the pain is unbearable." The master gently stroked his body and said, "You will feel all right again. But tell me, what makes you do these things? Didn't I tell you? You will gain everything by serving me." Hriday used to say that Sri Ramakrishna's touch removed all pain from his body then and there. Convinced that it would be well for him not to run counter to the wishes of his uncle, he did not use the Panchavati for meditation again. Though Hriday had faith in Sri Ramakrishna's words, his old duties were becoming distasteful to him. He was on the lookout for new and exciting occupations. It was the autumn of 1868, and he wished to celebrate the Durga Puja at his own home. The master approved, and Mathur helped him with money. Hriday was keen upon taking Sri Ramakrishna with him, but Mathur objected. He wanted the master to be present at the puja in his home. Sri Ramakrishna consoled Hriday, saying, "Don't grieve, Hriday. I shall be there in a subtle body every day to watch your worship. You alone will see me. Get another Brahmin to read out the mantras to you and conduct the worship in your own fashion. Don't fast altogether, but take milk and Ganges water at noon with some candy syrup. If you follow my advice, depend upon the Divine Mother will accept your worship." The master also gave him specific instructions as to who should mold the image, who should act as the assisting priest, and how everything was to be done. Hriday went home with a joyous heart. During the 3 days of worship, he was astonished to see his uncle standing in a shining body by the side of the image. He returned shortly afterwards and told Sri Ramakrishna of what had happened, at which the latter said, "Yes, at the time of the evening service and again at the Sandhi Puja time, I was really eager to watch your worship. In the trance that followed, I felt myself carried to your chapel in a shining body along a luminous track. The master, in an ecstatic mood, once told Hriday that he would celebrate the Durga Puja thrice. It happened as he said, for Hriday failed in his attempt to celebrate it for the fourth time. Shortly after the first year's celebration, he married a second time and again devoted himself to the worship of Kali and the service of his uncle in the Dakshineshwar temple. The reader is already aware that Sri Ramakrishna had a nephew named Akshay, who was the only son of his brother Ramkumar and a general favorite in the family. Sri Ramakrishna loved the boy and during his Kamarpukur days often carried him in his arms. As the years passed, Akshay grew into a handsome boy. His father, however, had a premonition that the boy would not live long, so he never took him in his arms or caressed him. Akshay was yet a child when Sri Ramakrishna left Kamapukur and passed through the tempest of sadhana at Dakshineshwar. When Haladhari vacated his office of priest in the Vishnu temple at Dakshineshwar, Akshay at the age of 17 stepped into his place. From his very boyhood, he had a special devotion to Sri Ramachandra and spent hours in worshipping him. At Dakshineshwar, he was in his element. While worshipping Radha Govinda, he would become so much absorbed in meditation that he was unconscious of the presence of spectators. He also spent much time in the worship of Shiva and in reading the Bhagavata. This was his regular routine for years. He sometimes practiced so hard that blood would spark from his throat and palate. His sincere faith and devotion endeared him to Sri Ramakrishna. Shortly after his marriage in 1869, Akshay became seriously ill. On his return to Dakshineshwar, he had a relapse. The physicians said it was a simple case, but when the fever showed no signs of abating after the first 3 or 4 days, the master said to Hriday, "The doctors have made a mistake. It is a case of typhoid. Consult good physicians for your satisfaction, but the boy won't recover." "God forbid, uncle," said Hriday. "How can you utter such ominous words?" Sri Ramakrishna simply replied, "I don't say these things voluntarily. It is the mother who makes me speak like that. Do you think I wish Akshay to die?" Hriday was greatly perplexed. He did his utmost for the recovery of the boy, but the illness was gradually aggravated. When the fatal moment arrived, Sri Ramakrishna stood by Akshay's bed and bade him utter the name of Rama. Akshay did so thrice and expired. The event made no impression upon the master at the time. Rather, in exaltation of spirits, he laughed as Hriday wept. The following is his account of the event. Akshay died before my very eyes, but it did not affect me in the least. I stood by and watched a man die. It was like a sword being drawn from its scabbard. I enjoyed the scene and laughed and sang and danced over it. They removed the body and cremated it, but the next day, as I stood there, pointing to the southeastern veranda of his room, I felt a racking pain for the loss of Akshay, as if somebody were squeezing my heart like a wet towel. I wondered, and I thought that mother was teaching me a lesson. I was not much concerned with the body, even much less with a nephew. But if such was my pain at his bereavement, how much more must be the grief of the householders at the loss of their near and dear ones. So, my dear friends, today we are stopping here. I wish that Almighty will bestow us with the prerequisite patience within our heart, within our brain, so that we get prepared, so that we became the worthy of the Supreme. When we will realize our oneness with the Supreme. That is the Supreme realization, right? So, in this holy moment, today it is Dol Purnima, festival for colors in India. So, Dol, as well as it is famously known as Holi. So, I wish this auspicious moment will bless us with that supreme patience and supreme honesty within our hearts, so that we can move forward to our supreme goal. So, with this, to be happy, be jolly, and keep praying. Shubhamastu.